Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah, and welcome to this week's Friday Nasiha from ProductiveMuslim.com. We're going to carry on with what we started off 2 weeks ago about reading Productive Muslim style. And in that last session, we spoke about what should you read, and we spoke about different categories of books that you should read, and how to prioritize them as productive Muslims. Today, we're going to talk about how should you read and when should you read. Now, the second question might seem obvious, how should you read? Just pick up a book and read, right? But really, it's the way we read can make a difference whether we make the most of what we read or whether we just, read in passing. But I want to make something very clear. Reading is beneficial regardless of how you read it. If the book is beneficial, then it will be beneficial. So even though you might not consciously benefit from it, you're subconsciously benefiting from it, whether it's ideas that you're taking in, or whether it's actually just learning new vocabularies, learning new sentence structures. So really, it actually does help you to read. So how should you read? There is a very, very simple sort of productive reading style. Number one is to determine a purpose, an intention, a reason for reading that book. So you think, okay, I'm picking up this business book so I can read, so I need to find what exactly am I looking for here. I'm reading this motivational book because I want to overcome something. I'm reading this Islamic book because I want to gain knowledge in this aspect. So really develop a purpose, an intention, a reason for reading the books. That would actually help you develop a very productive reading, so your reading becomes very productive, very fruitful. Secondly, have a pen and paper nearby. I really suggest that when it comes to reading, you have like a reading station, and at that reading station you have a journal, you have pen and paper, you have the book you want to read. And every time you come across something you really like, a quote, something you enjoy, then write it down in that journal, or write it down on a piece of paper and file it together in a very organized way, so that you can always refer back to ideas, thoughts, quotes which you really, really liked in the book you are reading. So have pen and paper next to you can be very, very productive and help you make the most of what you're reading. Highlight, underline, any reference material, anything you really like, highlight it in the book. Don't feel the book is you cannot touch the book. I know some people like the books to be nice and clean, but really the book that you make the most of is the book that you highlight, you underline, you really fold some pages, you think this is really interesting, that you really, really make the most of that book. Now, a reminder here though to respect the Quran and respect the Islamic books, and not to highlight all over and to bend pages in them. So when it comes to Islamic books, be careful and do treat them with respect. However, any other book, just go in there and really make the most of the books. For the Islamic books, I suggest, as mentioned before, to have a separate pen and paper and just write down things on the side. Also, an idea just came to me right now. If you don't want to write it down, have a recorder, have a voice recorder, and record your thoughts about this book on a voice recorder and upload it to your software, some kind of musical software like iTunes, or something that can keep all your voice recordings. And you can always come back to what you thought about those books in audio style, inshallah. Now, when should you read? I get the question a lot, like when do I get time for reading? Now, it really depends on what books you're reading when. Now, here's a suggestion. It's not really the reading times, but here's suggestions from my personal experience. Number one, early morning reading time is prime time reading. Really, this is the time when you want to read things to retain in your memory. So Quran memorization, hadith memorization, tafsir books, really that after Fajr time, that time is prime time, because your mind is clear, there's nothing, there's no, your day hasn't started yet, so there's nothing coming into your mind. You just come with a fresh new look, fresh new start. Your brain is is starting that day with a blank slate. You just finish salah and you're sitting down and you're just taking in everything that you read. So this is a prime time, so make sure you select only the books that really, really you want to have that full concentration, especially books that you need to memorize. So this is the best time for reading the Quran, the best time reading hadith and any other Islamic books, so you can retain that knowledge. During work, school time, so during the working hours, I suggest any study books, because you're in the mood. So for example, I find it very hard to read a book related to work when early in the morning. It just doesn't click with me, or late at night. So when I'm in work, though, when I'm in the office, it becomes very easy for me to sit down and and get into it. When you're a student, when you go to the library and you read the books related to your course, it becomes very easy. So that's the time when you read books which are related to your work or career. Now, this is a very important message to the Muslim students. A lot of times we think we'll read at night, or we'll read when we get a chance. Really, during school time, during university time, in between lectures, find an hour or two and get there and start reading. That would make the difference between being a first class student or any other average student. So really suggest that you should take that time in between lectures to go reading. Finally, evening, bedtime, relaxing motivational books that you've had a hard day, you've had a tough time, and you just want to sit down and just read a nice comfortable book that will inspire you and make you look forward to another morning, to another fresh morning. I highly recommend, though, that you should not have the last thing you read is your emails. Make sure that the last thing you read is a good, relaxing, motivational book that just inspires you and makes you feel that you are that you are and definitely are a productive Muslim, inshallah. Now, I just want to remind you about our book club, which is on Facebook. So you go to facebook.com/ProM Book Club, and you'll find some really interesting discussions about books which are related to our book club, and really books that help become more productive Muslims. Do join in, do suggest your books, and do write your reviews, and we'll post them on our main website, productivemuslim.com. Jazakumullah khair. Speak to you inshallah next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.